In that precise moment, a man locks eyes with an attractive woman. A silent transaction unfolds that most men completely mishandle. It happens in an instant, that sudden, unspoken connection across a crowded room, a coffee shop, or a busy street. His brain spikes with a rush of pressure, and suddenly, the most natural human interaction becomes a high-stakes test that he feels ill-equipped to pass. If he hesitates, if he second-guesses himself, or if he completely misreads the cues, he doesn't just lose a potential opportunity, he actively communicates something about himself that he never intended to say. And that is the tragedy of the modern man. He walks through life believing that attraction is built through grand gestures, the perfect pickup line, or a carefully curated online profile. But the truth is far simpler and far more immediate. Attraction begins in the space between two people, often long before a single word is spoken. The eyes are the first battlefield, and the man who cannot hold his ground there has already surrendered his power before the fight even begins. If you have ever made eye contact with a woman you found compelling, chances are you have fallen into one of two common traps that instantly kill the interaction before it even gets off the ground. The first, and perhaps the most widespread mistake, is nervously looking away. This is probably the most reflexive reaction a man can have. He makes eye contact, his brain floods with cortisol, and within a split second, he breaks it as if he has been caught committing a crime. Some men do not just politely avert their gaze. They snap their entire head to the side like they are trying to physically escape the moment. Then, a few seconds later, curiosity pulls them back. They glance again. She notices. And now, in a panic, they quickly look away again. What emerges is this awkward, looping pattern of looking, avoiding, and overthinking, a cycle that creates nothing but confusion and social friction. What is happening internally is that his mind is turning a simple, neutral moment into a monumental, high-stakes situation. Instead of being present in the environment, he is analyzing himself in real time, critiquing his own performance as if he were an actor being graded on a scene he has not rehearsed. Did I look too long? Should I have smiled? Does she think I am being creepy? Because of that relentless internal noise, his behavior becomes erratic and inconsistent. From her perspective, his actions do not read as attraction or confidence. They read as nervousness, insecurity, or outright social awkwardness. It does not create intrigue, it creates unease. And once that pattern starts, he is very unlikely to recover because he has already framed himself as the hesitant, doubtful guy who could not even hold eye contact with a woman for 3 seconds. He has communicated, without saying a word, that he is uncomfortable in his own skin. The second mistake is the polar opposite extreme, the aggressive stare. Some men take the advice to be confident and interpret it as a command to lock on and never break eye contact under any circumstance. So, they end up staring intensely, with no expression, no warmth, no fluidity, just a blank, unmoving gaze that feels more like a spotlight than a connection. The problem here is that while he might think he is broadcasting confidence and dominance, he is actually creating palpable discomfort. Eye contact without emotion is deeply unnatural. Humans rely heavily on subtle facial cues to interpret intention, safety, and mood. When those cues are completely absent, it creates tension in the wrong direction. Instead of feeling intrigued, she feels watched, judged, or even slightly uneasy. The gaze becomes predatory in the worst sense, lacking the warmth that makes social interaction feel safe. Both extremes fail for the same fundamental reason. They do not create the right emotional response. Nervous avoidance signals insecurity and a lack of self-worth, while emotionless staring signals coldness, awkwardness, or an inability to read social signals. Neither of these impressions is going to make a woman lean in closer. And this leads us to the real point of this entire breakdown. Every moment of eye contact is a golden opportunity to create emotional impact. If a man is not creating the right feeling, he is not just wasting the moment, he is actively damaging his perceived value in her eyes. So, what should a man actually do instead? The solution is not complicated, but it requires a shift in mindset and a commitment to practicing the fundamentals until they become second nature. First, he must not break eye contact immediately. This does not mean he stares aggressively like a predator sizing up its prey. It simply means he holds the gaze for a moment longer than his instinct tells him to. That extra second is where confidence is quietly communicated. Most men break too early, betraying their discomfort. Simply holding steady for that brief extension already separates him from the vast majority of men who cannot handle the pressure. He should think of it as being genuinely comfortable, being seen, not hiding behind a frantic glance. Second, and this is absolutely critical, he must introduce a subtle smile. Not a forced grin, not an exaggerated, performative expression meant to impress, but a relaxed, controlled, and warm smile, or even a slight smirk. This is crucial because it adds humanity to the interaction. Without it, eye contact can feel cold, ambiguous, and mechanical. With it, the interaction instantly becomes more human, more inviting, and more emotionally engaging. Imagine walking into a room and someone looks at you with calm, steady eye contact and a slight, knowing smile. It feels natural, warm, and non-threatening. That is the exact energy he wants to project. Third, he should add a small acknowledgement, like a light head nod. This is one of the most underrated moves in social dynamics. It is simple, but it signals high social awareness and emotional intelligence. He is basically saying, "I see you, I acknowledge your presence, and I am not threatened by it," all without needing a single word. It is not over the top, it is not needy, and it is not trying too hard. It is subtle and controlled. And subtlety, as any Stoic would argue, is where true confidence lives. When a man combines these three elements, steady eye contact, a light smile, and a small, controlled nod, he creates a complete micro-interaction in just a few seconds. He has communicated confidence, warmth, and sharp social awareness. Seneca once observed that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, and this is the perfect lens through which to view this encounter. The man who looks away is suffering from the fear of a scenario that has not happened. The man who stares is ignoring the reality of her comfort. But the man who strikes the balance is acting in accordance with true nature, meeting a human moment with human grace. Zeno of Citium taught that the goal of life is living in agreement with nature, and human nature craves connection that is both bold and gentle. A man who can hold her gaze with a relaxed smile is showing her that he is not at war with himself, and that internal peace is the most magnetic quality a man can possess. Now let us take this further by applying the principle to different real-world situations, because context matters immensely. In places a man frequents regularly, like his gym, his university, his workplace, or even a local coffee shop he visits every morning, he has a major advantage in the form of repeated exposure. Here, his goal is not to rush. He does not need to force a full conversation immediately and risk coming across as desperate. Instead, he builds familiarity over time, step by step. The first time he makes eye contact, he just uses the basics. Eye contact, a slight smile, a head nod. That is enough. He has planted the seed without demanding anything in return. The next time he sees her, he does it again. But this time, perhaps he holds the eye contact a fraction of a second longer, or he makes the smile slightly more pronounced. Now there is recognition. She is starting to see him as a fixture, a familiar presence. By the third or fourth interaction, he can expand slightly. He can add a small wave, or a casual, friendly, "Hey," if she happens to be nearby. Notice what is happening. He is gradually building comfort without any pressure or expectation. This is incredibly powerful because one of a woman's primary psychological concerns in any social interaction is safety and familiarity. When he becomes a familiar face through consistently positive, low-key signals, he lowers her guard naturally. She does not feel ambushed or cornered. She feels like she is encountering a known quantity. Compare this to the guy who avoids eye contact repeatedly, who ducks his head every time she walks by. Each time he sees her and looks away, it actually creates a strange, unresolved tension that lingers in the air. By the time he finally considers approaching, the situation feels heavier and more awkward than it ever needed to be. But if he has been building these small, positive micro-interactions consistently, approaching becomes the easiest thing in the world. It feels organic, not forced, not like a cold approach, but like a continuation of a story that has already begun. Now let us pivot to situations where he does not have the luxury of time and repeated exposure. Maybe he is walking down a crowded street, browsing through a store, or passing by someone in a random, transient environment. This is where what many refer to as the 3-second rule comes into play. The idea is elegantly simple. Once eye contact happens, a man has about 3 seconds to act before his brain talks him out of it. In those 3 seconds, he goes through the same initial steps. Eye contact, a slight smile, a small nod. And then he commits. No overthinking, no internal debate, no running hypothetical scenarios through his head. He moves. He approaches. A simple opener is all he needs. "Hey, I just saw you and wanted to say hi real quick. How's your day going?" The key here is momentum. The longer he waits, the harder it becomes. His brain will generate a flood of excuses, doubts, and unnecessary analysis. He will convince himself that she is busy, that she has a boyfriend, that he is bothering her, that he looks weird today. But if he acts quickly, he bypasses all of that mental sabotage. Think of it like jumping into cold water. The hesitation is infinitely worse than the action. The dread before the plunge is where all the suffering lives, but once he is in the water, his body adjusts and the fear evaporates. Musonius Rufus, the great Stoic teacher, once wrote that we should not let our fears stop us from doing what is right, but rather let our reason guide our actions. In these transient moments, if a man does not act, the opportunity is gone forever. He may never see her again. He is not preserving his dignity by staying silent. He is preserving his fear. And that fear is a poor companion. Let us step into more advanced territory, specifically environments where there is time and space to play with the interaction, places like bars, lounges, social events, or parties. Here, he is not limited to immediate action. He can build tension, curiosity, and attraction from a distance before he even says a single word. He starts the same way. Eye contact, a slight smile, a head nod. If he is holding a drink, he can even add a subtle cheers gesture, lifting his glass just slightly in her direction as a playful salute. Then he observes her reaction. This is where his awareness becomes paramount. If she responds positively, if she smiles back, holds his eye contact, or looks away and then looks back again, that is a green light. That is a sign that she is open. From here, he has multiple powerful options. Option 1, he goes directly. He walks over and starts a conversation. This works beautifully because he has already established a connection. It is no longer a cold approach. It is a warm one. He is not a stranger interrupting her. He is the man she just shared a moment with. Option 2, and this is more advanced, he gestures for her to come to him. This requires strong, unshakable confidence. His body language must be absolutely clear and certain. A hesitant or unsure gesture will not work and will make him look foolish. But when done correctly, when he uses a simple, confident crook of the finger or a tilt of the head inviting her over, it can be incredibly effective. It flips the dynamic entirely. He is now the selector, the one setting the terms of the interaction. Option 3 involves playful teasing from a distance. This is where things get truly interesting. He can exaggerate his reaction slightly, look at her, then pretend to look away dramatically, or cover his face in a joking, theatrical way, or give a playful eye roll paired with a warm smile. The key is that it must feel light, fun, and entirely non-threatening. It is not forced or desperate. He is creating a shared, unique moment without words. This builds immense intrigue and makes the interaction feel memorable and exclusive. And if she engages back, smiling, reacting, maintaining eye contact, he can escalate from there, either by walking over or by signaling her to come to him. A common concern that arises here is, what if a man signals for her to come over and she does not? This is where his mindset matters above all else. He cannot afford to interpret it as a rejection or a personal failure. Not every woman will respond the same way in that exact moment. Maybe she is with friends who are watching. Maybe she is unsure of his intentions. Maybe she prefers for the man to take the more traditional route and approach. The important thing is that he has already established interest and made his presence known. So instead of retreating into embarrassment or frustration, He simply goes over and continues the interaction naturally. He can even playfully acknowledge the moment to keep the energy light and confident. "What? You weren't going to come say hi?" said with a relaxed smile. This keeps everything fun and removes any lingering awkwardness. It shows her that he is unfazed, that his ego is not fragile, and that he is in control of his emotions. Hierocles, a lesser-known Stoic, wrote that we should conduct ourselves in life as we do in a wrestling match, not rigidly, but with resilience. If a move does not land exactly as planned, the resilient man does not panic. He simply adjusts his grip and flows with the situation. The beauty of all these techniques is that they allow a man to open interactions before he even speaks. By the time he walks up to her, there is already a shared connection. He is not a stranger interrupting her night. He is the guy she just shared a playful glance and a smile with. And this is why mastering eye contact is such an incredibly powerful skill. When a man looks at highly confident or socially skilled individuals, he will notice they are profoundly comfortable with eye contact. They do not rush it, they do not avoid it, and they certainly do not misuse it. It is controlled, intentional, and expressive. It is a tool of communication that transcends language. Even if he is not the most physically attractive man in the room, mastering this single skill can significantly change how people perceive him. He projects an aura of self-possession. He signals that he is not seeking approval, that he is socially intelligent, and that he is comfortable in his own presence. When a woman feels that, when she senses that he is not desperate for her validation, it triggers a powerful sense of curiosity. She starts to wonder what makes him different from the flood of men who break under the weight of their own anxiety. And that curiosity is often the very starting point of genuine attraction. Cleanthes, the successor to Zeno, wrote that the fates guide the willing, but drag the unwilling. A man who is willing to step into these moments with intention and courage finds that the world and the women in it begin to guide him toward opportunities he used to only dream about. One of the most profound things a man can realize is that women are constantly scanning for social cues, often subconsciously, to determine whether a man is a threat or a safe, desirable presence. Her primal brain is looking for stability. It is looking for a man who is not easily rattled, who does not shrink under pressure, and who can handle the complexities of social interaction without crumbling. When a man breaks eye contact nervously, he is telling her that he is rattled. When he stares coldly, he is telling her that he lacks warmth. But when he holds the gaze with a relaxed smile, he is telling her that he is safe, grounded, and in command of his internal state. That is what creates the opening. He does not need to have the perfect job or the most chiseled features. He simply needs to show up as a man who is not at war with himself. A man who is comfortable in his own skin is a rarity, and scarcity creates value. Women are bombarded with attention, with likes, with comments, with the desperate energy of men who are trying to earn their approval. The man who simply stands still, who looks her in the eye with warmth, who nods as if to say, "I see you and I am unafraid," is offering something entirely different. He is offering presence. In places where he builds familiarity, he must remember that patience is his ally. He is not trying to close a deal. He is building a bridge. Repeated positive interactions are like deposits into a bank account of goodwill. Each glance, each smile, each casual nod is a deposit. When he finally approaches, the bank is full, and she is comfortable cashing that check. In transient environments, he must embrace the urgency of the moment. He must let go of the fear of rejection and understand that the regret of inaction is far heavier than the sting of a polite dismissal. The 3-second rule is not just a gimmick, it is a psychological hack that prevents him from entering the cycle of overthinking. It forces him to act before fear can build its case against him. In social environments where he can build tension, he must learn to enjoy the dance. The playful teasing from a distance, the theatrical glance away, the subtle cheers with a glass. These are not games. They are forms of communication that say, "I am playful, I am confident, and I am in control." They create emotional spikes, and emotional spikes are what make a woman remember him. She might forget the exact color of his shirt, but she will not forget the way he made her feel in that moment. If a man is still worried about the possibility of rejection, He needs to reassess his relationship with failure. The Stoics were adamant that our power lies not in the outcome, but in our intention and effort. If he approaches with grace, with respect, and with a genuine smile, he has already won, regardless of her response. He has honored his own intention. He has pushed past the fear. He has acted in accordance with his values. The outcome is secondary. This mindset is liberating because it untethers his self-worth from her reaction. He is not defined by whether she smiles back or brushes him off. He is defined by his willingness to engage with life fully and courageously. When he finally internalizes these truths, he realizes that he is no longer the hesitant man he used to be. He walks into a room differently. He holds his head a little higher. He makes eye contact, not out of aggression, but out of genuine openness. He is ready to connect. And that readiness, that quiet confidence, is the most attractive thing he can ever wear. It does not require expensive clothes or a rehearsed script. It requires the conviction that he is enough, that his presence is a gift, and that he is prepared to share it with the right woman at the right time. So, the next time a man locks eyes with a woman, he should not treat it like a random, disposable moment. He should treat it like the opportunity it is. He should hold his ground, add a spark of warmth, acknowledge her presence, and decide on the right move for the situation. Because the difference between the man who gets the opportunity and the one who misses it is not luck. It is not genetics. It is not cosmic fate. It is how he handles those few critical seconds of eye contact. Those seconds are a window into his soul, and he gets to decide what she sees looking back. He gets to decide whether she sees a man who is trapped by fear or a man who is free. And freedom, as any true student of philosophy knows, is the only goal worth pursuing. That would be all for today. If this breakdown reshaped the way you think about eye contact and presence, take this wisdom and put it into practice the next time you step out into the world. The only way to truly master it is to live it. See you on the next one.